Welcome to the Horror Hive channel, where the darkness and unknown come alive. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to never miss an episode of terror. Let's dive into the darkness together. The Haunting of Blackwood Manor. It was a dark and stormy night when the Blackwood family arrived at their new home, a grand old manor tucked away in the woods. The previous owner, a reclusive old man, had passed away and left the property to the Blackwoods in his will. The family was excited to start a new chapter in their lives, but little did they know, the manor was hiding a dark and sinister past. As they settled in, strange occurrences began to happen. Objects would move on their own, doors would slam shut without explanation, and strange noises echoed through the halls. The family tried to brush it off as their imagination, but the occurrences became more frequent and intense. One night, the youngest daughter, Lily, woke up to the sound of someone whispering her name. She got out of bed and followed the voice, leading her to an old, locked door in the basement. She opened the door and was met with a foul stench and a set of stairs leading down to a dark and musty underground chamber. Lily descended the stairs and found herself in a room filled with human remains. Skeletons and rotting corpses were stacked in piles, and the walls were adorned with strange symbols and markings. She realized with horror that the previous owner had been a cannibalistic serial killer, using the manor as a hideout for his gruesome crimes. The family was horrified and immediately tried to leave the manor, but they found that all the doors and windows were sealed shut. They were trapped, and the spirits of the victims were still trapped with them. The spirits began to torment the family, appearing to them in terrifying visions and causing their worst fears to come to life. The father, Tom, was haunted by the ghost of a young girl he had wronged in the past. The mother, Sarah, was plagued by visions of her own death. And Lily was constantly pursued by the ghost of the cannibalistic serial killer, who had taken a special interest in her. The family was at their wits' end, and they knew they had to find a way to put the spirits to rest. They discovered that the previous owner had been performing black magic rituals in the underground chamber, using the remains of his victims as sacrifices. In a desperate attempt to put an end to the haunting, the family performed a ritual of their own, using a relic they had found in the chamber. The ritual was a success, and the spirits were finally put to rest. The Blackwood family was able to leave the manor, but the trauma of their experience had left them forever changed. They were haunted by the memory of the atrocities that had occurred in their home and the knowledge that they had been living amongst the remains of the previous owner's victims. From that day on, the manor stood empty, a dark and foreboding reminder of the evil that had once lived within its walls. And it is said that on stormy nights, the spirits of the victims can still be heard whispering and crying out for justice. The Curse of Millfield. The small town of Millfield was a peaceful place, surrounded by lush green forests and rolling hills. It was the kind of place where everyone knew each other and nothing much ever happened. But all of that changed when the old antique store on the outskirts of town opened its doors once again. The owner, a reclusive old man known as Mr. Jenkins, had been away on a buying trip for months and had returned with a strange and mysterious object. It was a small, intricately carved box made of a dark and ancient wood. Mr. Jenkins claimed that it had been passed down through his family for generations and that it held great power. Curiosity got the best of the townsfolk and they began to visit the store to see the strange object for themselves. But as they looked upon the box, a strange feeling of dread washed over them. Some even claimed that they could hear faint whispers coming from within the box. But Mr. Jenkins just chuckled and brushed off their concerns, insisting that it was just their imagination. Despite the unease that the box caused, Mr. Jenkins placed it prominently on the counter for all to see. It wasn't long before someone decided to open the box, thinking that it was just a harmless trinket. As soon as the lid was opened, a dark and malevolent force spilled out, taking the form of a demon with eyes as black as obsidian and a mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth. It seemed to revel in the terror it caused, lashing out at the explorers with its claws and whipping its tail with deadly precision. A small group of brave souls decided to take matters into their own hands and set out to destroy the demon. The group fought bravely, wielding weapons of all kinds in a desperate attempt to defeat the creature. But no matter how many times they struck it, the demon always seemed to heal itself, regenerating any wounds it sustained. As the battle raged on, the explorers began to realize that the only way to destroy the demon was to destroy the box itself. But the box was heavily guarded by the demon's minions, twisted creatures that had been created from the very same energy that had given birth to the demon. The group pressed forward, fighting tooth and nail against these minions, their weapons clashing and ringing in the darkness. But it was a losing battle. The demon and its minions were too powerful, and the explorers were quickly being overwhelmed. Just as all seemed lost, one of the explorers remembered an ancient ritual that was said to be able to destroy the box and the demon within it. Desperate and out of options, the group decided to try the ritual, even though they knew it was their last hope. The ritual was long and grueling, requiring the sacrifice of one of the group members. But it worked. The box was destroyed and the demon was banished back to the hell from which it had come. The group emerged victorious, but at a terrible cost. They had lost one of their own and the memory of that night would haunt them for the rest of their lives. But they knew that they had saved the world from an unimaginable evil, and that was all that mattered. The Nightmare Carnival. The carnival had always been a place of wonder and excitement for the small town of Ravenswood. Every year, it rolled into town like clockwork, bringing with it a flurry of bright lights, dizzying rides, and the sweet scent of cotton candy. But as the years went by, the carnival began to change. The laughter and joy that once filled the air was replaced with a thick, oppressive silence. It all started with the new owner, a mysterious man known only as the Ringmaster. He was a tall, gaunt figure with a sinister grin that never seemed to leave his face. He arrived with a new set of attractions, each one more twisted and macabre than the last. But it wasn't just the attractions that were different, it was the way the carnival operated. The ringmaster insisted on keeping the carnival open late into the night, long after the last customer had gone home. He claimed that the real magic happened after the sun went down, but the townspeople knew better. They knew that something sinister was happening behind the closed gates of the carnival. One night, a group of brave teenagers decided to sneak into the carnival to see for themselves. They climbed over the fence and made their way through the dark, silent midway. At first, everything seemed normal. The ride stood still and quiet, the games were closed, and the only sound was the soft rustle of the wind. But as they walked deeper into the carnival, they began to notice strange things. The carousel horses seemed to be moving, their eyes following the teens as they passed by. The giant clown head at the entrance of the funhouse seemed to be laughing at them, a cruel, mocking laughter that sent shivers down their spines. As they reached the center of the carnival, they saw something that made their blood run cold. The ringmaster was standing in front of the haunted house attraction, his eyes glowing in the darkness. He beckoned to them with a twisted, bony finger, and they knew they had to run. They turned to leave, but the carnival had changed. The exits were blocked, the gates were locked, and the only way out was through the haunted house. They had no choice but to go inside. The haunted house was like nothing they had ever seen before. The walls seemed to be alive, writhing and twisting as if in pain. The floor was slick with blood, and the air was thick with the stench of rotting flesh. They could hear screams and moans coming from all around them, and they knew that they were not alone. They were being hunted by the carnival attractions that had come to life. The clowns, the skeletons, the mummies, all were moving and chasing them. They ran through the maze of corridors, but they could not escape. The ringmaster was always there, his twisted grin never leaving his face. Finally, they found themselves in the final room, a chamber filled with mirrors. They saw their own reflection, but something was off. Their eyes were empty, their skin was pale and their face twisted in a grotesque scream. They realized that the ringmaster had trapped them in a nightmare, and they were the only ones left. The ringmaster appeared before them and revealed himself as a powerful sorcerer, who has been using the carnival as a way to capture souls and feed from their fear. He then proceeded to claim their souls as his own. The townspeople never saw the teenagers again, and the carnival never returned to Ravenswood. We hope you enjoyed our journey into the world of horror. We strive to bring you the best in horror entertainment, and we appreciate your support. Remember to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode of terror. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in our next story.